Today we are going to talk about how to set up memorized transactions for billing customers for a flat rate monthly service. In order to do so, the first thing that we need to do is click Customer Info in the top left corner of the service program. That will open up a submenu, and from there we can select Memorize Transaction List. That will bring us to this Customer Memorized Transaction List screen, and from here we can begin to add customers to our Memorized Transaction List. Any customer that is receiving a service from you on a monthly basis, you're going to want to add to this screen. We can do so by using these drop downs. So under the customer column, I'm going to go ahead and hit this drop down and then select a customer. We'll go ahead and use Alan Gray. Now we need to select the item for which you're billing the customer for. I'm going to go ahead and select the monthly service. At this point, we can also adjust the rate. Now, the system will automatically load the default sales price from QuickBooks, but pricing is 100% dictated in our software, which means we can adjust this rate depending on whether or not we may charge Alan Gray a little bit more or a little bit less for his monthly service. So maybe Alan Gray gets charged $125 for his monthly service. Now we need to add a memorized transaction for every customer that is receiving this monthly service. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few more customers to our list here, such as Ann Fox. Maybe we only charge her $90. We'll also select Dave Graham. We also have a group field here that you can use to delineate different billing groups. Maybe you bill some customers in advance, so the beginning of each month. Maybe you bill some customers in the rears, the end of each month. This group column is used to separate the two different billing groups. So we can create a bill in advance group. And when we input that into the system, the service program is going to tell us that this grouping does not yet exist. Would we like to add it? Of course. Maybe Ann Fox gets billed at the end of the month. So we'll create a bill in the rears group. We'll also add that as well. It's possible that all of your customers are billed on the same cycle. So in that scenario, we do not need to associate a group with the transaction. In this column right here, where it says last posted, this is a fluid field, meaning each time we post invoices from the memorized transaction list to QuickBooks, the last posted date will update with the date that you did your billing. So if you bill at the end of the month, those transactions would receive a last posted date with the last date of the month. If you billed at the beginning of the month, then it would be the beginning date of the month. When you first input your transactions onto this screen, the system is going to default the last posted date to be the date that you've entered the transaction. So as you can see, our date entered matches our last posted date. You can also select a class. That's typically done for reporting purposes on the QuickBooks side. If there's a class that you'd like to associate with these transactions, you can absolutely select that class. At this time, I do not have classes set up, so I am not going to associate a class with a transaction. So this is a way that you can easily add memorized transactions to the service program from this master customer memorized transaction list. There is also another area in the system in which you can do this. So if I close out of our customer memorized transaction list here, I can open up our customer list by clicking Customer Info in the top left corner and then selecting Customer List. I'm going to navigate to a customer that we do not have a memorized transaction set for, such as Alice Powell, and I'll double-click her name to open up the customer detail. Along the middle of this screen, we have a few tabs. The tab that I'm going to focus on today is the Memorize Transaction tab. So when I click that tab, that will open up this screen right here. And this is another area where we can add a memorized transaction to our memorized transaction list. Now this is exclusive to Alice Powell. So I'm going to go ahead and select monthly service. And we'll just leave the rate at 100 at this point, and we do not need to select a group. Maybe I don't use billing groups at this time. So it's this simple. Once I've input in this information, all I need to do is click Close. And now if I head back to our memorized transaction list, we should see Alice Powell on the memorized transaction list, and we do. Now when we get into billing, we can now easily adjust the description for the monthly service line item across the board. Maybe you'd like to let the customer know which month they're being billed for. So right along the top of this memorized transaction list, there's a drop-down that we can select. We'll select our monthly service item. The description will pre-populate. Maybe we need to make an adjustment. We need to let our customers know that they are being billed for the month of April. So we'll go ahead and input April monthly pool service in the description field here. Then all we need to do is click the Update Description button and then select Yes. And across the board, the descriptions will change for all memorized transactions. So this is how you add memorized transactions to your customer memorized transaction list. In a further training video, we'll talk about how to build these memorized transactions to QuickBooks.